Hello everyone, Michelle here. Welcome to Ranking the Signs That a Man is Stingy, Part 2. In this video, I will identify the signs that indicate that a man is stingy by assessing factors such as their physical appearance, age, grooming habits, fashion choices, religious beliefs, and underlying personality traits. For this ranking, I will classify men into five tiers. The tier E tier means effective, suggesting that a man might not be so cheap, he just might be cautious and mindful about his spending. And the next tier is C tier, which stands for cost conscious, indicating that a man has a relationship with money that could be positive or negative depending on your perspective. And then B tier, known as bargain hunter, suggests that a man is cheap, but he's not totally hopeless in this regard. And then we have A tier. This level it stands for avaricious. It indicates a degree of cheapness that is really, really high. But then we have S tier. And S tier, guys, it stands for super cheap and represents the most extreme level of stinginess a man can accept. This is super cheap. Now, guys, let's get started. And the first man to analyze here is the men who wear hoodies. The men who wear hoodies could be a cheap man because he shows off that he's not caring much about the way he dresses. He's comfortable. He cares more about his own um, comfort than other people. He also have this idea that he's very young. A man who believes himself to be young sometimes don't want to spend money on women because in their mind they are just a baby, so they don't spend money. And as well, men who wear hoodies tend to be rebellious, and men like that are usually not good spenders. But it's not always like this because there are some men who wear hoodies, but they are very good spenders. But I have seen that those men are very good to spend on themselves. They have expensive cars, even drive luxury vehicles such as Lamborghinis, Ferraris, but I've never seen a man with a hoodie being so generous at women. I have seen them being generous at themselves, but not at women. That's why a man with hoodies deserves the E tier, which means effective. And the next guy is the tiny, short kind of guy. The tiny, short guy is a man who believes himself to be very sexy and he thinks that he has a very, very good looking legs. That's why he exhibits those legs with those tiny shorts. He's not a man who spends a lot of money because he believes he's too good looking to spend money on women. And he is also possibly a man who tries to get attention from other men. I'm not saying that he's gay, but he has he tends to uh, have the desire to get the attention from men and from women together with his body. And men like that believe that they are the ones who deserve to get paid, not paying women. So that's why those tiny short men receives the E tier, which means effective. And then now we have the next guy, which is the dark monochromatic guy. I don't know if you guys have realized how Andrew Tate dresses. Andrew Tate dresses monochromatic, very few jewelry he wears. It's typical of this guy. This guy that you are seeing now in the picture, he's dressing with black pants, but the dark monochromatic man is usually a man who wears this dark t-shirt, and he's also wearing a pants that are dark. Could be jeans, could be some form of dress shirts, but it's always monochromatic. It's always like very ready to go kind of uniform. Like he dresses like that every day. Another example that I have of this is Steve Jobs, that he also dresses similarly, but he used to wear jeans. Most of those dark monochromatic men wear like dark green, dark blue with this t-shirt. They barely wear white because they are very practical every day they tend to do the same thing every day. They tend to follow a specific kind of routine. I those men are they have strong identity. It does not seem like because they don't dress, they don't show anything. By just looking at them, you wouldn't categorize or label them as anything, which is very difficult because they don't show anything that expresses who they are. But inside, deep on their brain, they have a strong personality, strong beliefs, and they are not willing to bend any of those beliefs, and they are difficult people to to sell to convince of anything. That's why they are cheap, because they don't buy into anything or easily. So because they do have a mindset that it's very strict. I would say that the word for those kind of dark monochromatic men is strict. They are strict. They do every day the same thing. They follow a systematic routine, and those men, I like what I like about those men is the fact that they have strong mindset. And I believe that men that have this personality, which is dark monochromatic, are not easy to be hypnotized. I believe like weak-minded people are easy to be hypnotized. I don't see this dark monochromatic man being a target or being someone that could be hypnotized, because they do have a strong brain, which I do find attractive in a man, to have a strong mindset. But still, they are cheap, and though I'm not saying the Andrew Tate is cheap. I know that to my thinking and what I could observe from him, he was he was not that generous at all with women. I only saw the cars that he bought for himself. I didn't see, anything that was like a Lamborghini to his girlfriend. It was always for him. So, I mean, he was cheap on women, but not on himself. So, this man receives a E tier, which means effective. Yeah, they're not super cheap, but they also not super generous. So, they deserve the E tier, which is effective. And then there is the extra dressy guy. The extra dressy guy can be so difficult to deal with. It's one of the most difficult guys because he only thinks about himself. He's vain. He only talks about himself. It's difficult to speak to him. It's difficult to have a conversation with him that doesn't revolve him, and he's not willing to spend money on women because he believes that he's the most interesting, the most important personality, and he really does not worry or think about other people, especially women. In his world, he lives in a world that just revolves around him. So those extra dressy guys, I just can't stand talking to them. They tend to be narcissistic, and they tend to talk about themselves all the time, and it's so also the transgender, like whenever there is a man who dresses like a woman but also he defines himself as a lesbian. I have seen plenty of guys like this. I sit down, I talk to those men. A lot of those men don't even look like women, but they dress all like women. They take female hormones and they still look like men. They have implants, silicone implants, and they still are 6'4", 6 feet 4. You still don't look like a woman. And those men say that they are lesbians. It's horrible to talk to them. They only talk about themselves. They only talk about how it is for them to be this guy taking feminine hormones, and how it is for them to be dressing like a woman, and how it is for them when somebody mistake them by a man and call them he instead of she. It is so annoying. They cannot ask anything about any other person. The only person that matters is them. The only experience that is cool is them. They have, in their opinion, the most interesting, the coolest life, the most interesting and adventurous life. It's their life only. So that's why the extra dressy men, I consider them effective, which is like not super cheap, but you cannot expect anything from those men. They only think about themselves. So they go to the E tier, which is extra dressy, which is effective. And then we have the next guy, who is the piercing kind of guy. This guy, I don't know what it is that makes a guy who wear piercing so cheap, But I've noticed that men who wear piercings are usually not big ballers. I believe that they care too much about how they look. And the majority of times, men who wear piercings, they are doing it solely because they believe they look better. With piercings, it helps them to make their facial features more symmetrical. For example, if they have like a long philtrum, the distance between their upper lip and their nose, it's too big. So they go ahead and put a nose ring just so they believe it's going to make them look more attractive. And as well, if they have one eyebrow higher than the other, they tend to shave the eyebrow that is lower and put a piercing on it very high. They are just beautifying themselves. And men like that are usually not big ballers. So that's why I put the piercing man at E tier, which is effective. And now, next we have the Christian men. Christian men are one of the most difficult men to spend money on women. I know a lot of them claim, and they do, are men who pay the bills, who provide for their family because they live by those traditional male female kind of relationships when the man pays the bills. But he pays the bills, but it doesn't mean anything because, the water bill, the energy bill, the rent, that's very small. They don't buy anything besides of this. Maybe like a gift on their birthday, a gift on the Christmas, but that's it. They're not big ballers. And a lot of women who are Christians are usually dressing really nice. It's only because they work really hard and they are very conscious about the way they dress because they like to represent their men so well. So a lot of Christian women look like they are so well taken care of. But the truth is this, it takes a lot of work from those women to look the way they look, to take care of their hairs. And they do all of those treatment, those beauty treatments at home, and they do with such a small budget. And as well, talking about the Christian men who are single, they are one of the worst kind of men to talk to. They cannot shut up. Whenever they start talking, it's the end of the road. Nobody talks anymore. He keeps talking, doesn't even take a breath. It's like I can't stand it every time. Whenever I'm talking to a man like that over the phone, because I used to talk to men over the phone before meeting them up, because I used to get paid to go on dates. And whenever I got a Christian man on the phone. When I talk about Christian, I'm talking about evangelical because Catholic men at least have a little bit of class in elegance and they know a little bit of etiquette. But whenever it comes to the Christian men who are evangelicals, you can forget about anything. They do not have any kind of class etiquette. They don't follow, they don't have any kind of like self-awareness or education, especially the men. He will never stop talking. If you don't hang up the phone, or there is no way that they will shut up. They do not shut up. It is talking, 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 lecturing. And this also happens in the real life too. But that's why I never gave him the time of day. Sometimes I was unlucky enough to have one of those to start talking to me. And that was like 1 hour consumed out of my life because they could not stop talking. And I imagine how torturing it would be to be the mother of a child like that, of a boy like that, that cannot stop talking. It would be the worst of the worst. I would just give it up for adoption if I was the mother of a man like that that cannot stop talking, that cannot shut up. And it's just so annoying. They're also the most evil people that I've ever met. A lot of those Christian people, men and women, they wish you bad luck because whenever they figure out that you don't believe in God, what they say is, "Oh, I wish that you would because we will come to God for good or for bad." Because they believe, tell me, they used to tell me because I don't talk to them anymore, that if I didn't believe in God for good, I would believe it for bad because then I would one day have a car accident, lose all of my legs, and then have my face on the burned on the asphalt, and that's when I would believe in God. They wish something like that happens to you so you would share their same values, their same beliefs. They cannot stand when someone diverge from them in opinions, and it's just so annoying. Those men, and I believe the reason why they are cheap is because they are usually very strict and flexible. They don't like anybody that think different than they are. And I think people like this don't make money very easy because, as I said, they cannot be have empathy. And another thing that I also observed from those evil people, men and women, is that they do wish you bad things whenever you don't share the same beliefs that they do, especially whenever it comes to wishing bad things happens to you. And also envious is something that I've noticed because when I was in Orlando, Florida, living with my father made me go to church, and there were plenty of Christian there, and they always were envious of each other. They were always counting each other's money, like, observing who bought the best car. They are extremely envious of each other's success. It seems like they cannot be happy when another person makes money and they don't. And in my thinking, in my experience, they are Christian, especially the evangelicals, are one of the most evil people that I've ever met in my life. And they are very racist too. Don't like certain kind of people of different races, and they're just bad people. And so, besides of that, I think that men like this are cheap because they also believe that they are the ones who are more important, because Christian men tend to be narcissistic, and they don't value women, and they don't think that women are on their level. So I think because they don't see women as worthy, so they tend not to spend money on women, and also because they tend to be narcissistic. And I put those Christian men in the B category, which is bargain hunter. I would say bargain hunter because those men are stingy, are cheap, but at least sometimes they pay the bills, because that's what they do when they get married. They pay the bills. But well, for me that wouldn't work, because the rent and the energy and the light bill, that's nothing. That's absolutely nothing. But that's what they can afford. It's all they will afford. So for some women, it's okay for them to pay the bills, because they are also broke. They have broke thoughts, poverty consciousness, lack mentality. A lot of women are cheap as well, so they are the ones who are interested in those Christian men, the cheap women. So they are in the B category of bargain hunters. Next, we have the man who has no manners. This man don't follow rules, etiquette rules. He tend to stand at others people's way, and he gets angry. And when somebody asks them to get out of the way, they get offended, and they have no manners at the table. They mistreated the waiter and the waitresses, not because he is mean. It's because he does not have class, and he does not care about etiquette rules. Sometimes when he sits at some places, when it's a public place, sometimes he can even put his feet on the table. It is disgusting to see it. But those men, they spend no money. I believe that it's because probably I'm being very rough on those men, because I believe they might not have any money to spend in the first place, because it's clearly that they came from a lot of poverty. But those men sometimes they don't. They are just don't care for etiquette rules, don't follow it, don't care for it. And I some of the time, even like basic things about like at the mall, sometimes when I went to the mall with men like that, they would stand in the way of the people who are trying to pass the stairs, and they had no idea that people usually have to be on the left side in the stairs. That's how it is according to the rules, but they follow no rules. And they and as well in the rolling stairs, they would be in front of me, which is against, this is completely wrong according to the etiquette rules. And it's just things like that. They would just break all the rules, and I believe that the reason they break the rules is because they don't know the rules, and as well because they don't care about it. It's not important to them. I believe other people are not a priority to them. They only think about themselves. I think people who don't follow etiquette rules are evil. And it just also they are ignorant, and I believe people who are willfully ignorant are real monsters. And I put those people who no had no manners man as A tier. And A tier it's really really high. It is called avaricious. This indicates that he has a high degree of cheapness. The next we have the smokers. Smokers are not good spenders. They don't spend money on women. A lot of the times they don't even have any money to spend on themselves. And I don't know what kind of demons I smokers are always battling demons. They are always fighting depression, fighting all kinds of anxiety issues that they have. So I think it's difficult for smokers to even make money in the first place because of the amount of anxiety and depression and anger and the amount of demons that they are fighting all the time. And though smokers they usually never prosperous. There are some exceptions on the media of men who smoke who are prosperous. But on my real life, every time when I see a smoker, they are always anxious. They are always like super biting their nails. They are just look like they are fighting a bunch of demons. And they don't spend anything. They are really, really broke most of the time. And they really for a lot of people they're really disgusting, and they don't care about other people. They don't care at all, because if they did they would not smoke. And so they receive the A tier, which is avaricious, which is really high degree of cheapness. And next we have the spiritual man. And this I put this man with the robe as a spiritual man to represent the spiritual man. It is just because I want to make clear which guy I was talking about. But the truth is, most of the time that I encounter a spiritual man in my real life, he's not wearing a robe. Some of them are monks that also categorize them as cheap too. Monks don't have any money, they will never spend anything. But I'm talking about the spiritual man from the West, and they are usually not dressed in robes. I've noticed that men with a lot of tattoos, those heavily tattoos, kind of gothic men, are usually spiritual. I talk to a lot of them because of my job. I have to. And they're full of tattoos. They have this like punk, like gothic boots, black boots, and skulls, all kind of like rings, metal rings, and in their whole bodies a lot of times are tattooed. And those men are usually heavy believers. They are usually Christians. Sometimes they are spiritual. So every time when I meet a man who is spiritual in my real life, he looks like that. I don't know if you know who Chris Angel is. Those men resemble like this style of Chris Angel, that magician, gothic kind of guy. He's usually spiritual. He uses words such as humanoid. He uses words such as energy. And I'm telling you about those men that use words such as energy. Is always the brokest man. Energy. I find that this word is the most vague and most pathetic word ever invented in human history, and a lot of spiritual men love using the word energy. It means nothing, it's pointless, it is a very light word that doesn't mean anything. It is usually used by the spiritual man. Spiritual man also believes in all kinds of the fact astrology, which is really stupid. Only, I mean, they believe in the chakras of the body. They believe the body has 7 chakras. They believe that we are in the age of Aquarius. All of this reflects as well their laziness, because in real science we don't the body is not divided in 7 parts or in 7 chakras. In real science the body has so many parts that it is necessary one doctor to take care of each part of the human body. Like we have nose doctors, foot doctor, a hand doctor. It is so many parts that It is, you cannot count like at seven. You cannot put that at seven. It is way more complex. And while in spirituality, the body is divided in seven chakras, which one of them are the kundalini, that they love to talk about the kundalini. Every time when I talk to a man like that, I always mention the kundalini. They tell me about the seven chakras, and I always pretend like I don't know about it. It's like, really? Oh, I heard about the kundalini. I say kundalini just so I can look even more stupid, and they can give me some money because they believe that they know something that nobody knows. That's one another thing about those spiritual men, is that they believe they are hoarding information, and that fact that not a lot of people have the information and the knowledge that they have, that makes them really powerful. Those men have all kinds of beliefs about aliens, and all kinds of stupid beliefs, and they put names on those dragons that they believe, and then they use that knowledge that they themselves took out of their ass to just make other people feel stupid. Like they create like this like vegetal union, and then what whoever doesn't know about the vegetal union is stupid. They are just narcissistic men, and I always talk to them because sometimes they give me a little bit of money, but it's so difficult to speak to them. The level of stupidity is really high. And they also know another thing that bothers me about their laziness is that the way they divide time. Because if you ask a history teacher to divide time, he's gonna have a hard time to even answer this question to you, because the time in history is so complex, and there is so many times depending on whatever that you're talking about. But if you ask a a spiritual man to divide time, he's probably going to say that there are 12 ages, which is the 12 signs. We used to be in the Taurus, Sagittarius. Now we are in the Aquarius age, and each age in spirituality lasts for 2,150 years. And then after ever after 25,000 years, those ages repeat again and again. It's very simple. It's typical. I believe those spiritual people are just lazy. They don't want to study real science, and they come up with those basic kind of knowledge just so they can also exclude other people that don't know about it, because it's something that they created, as I said, pretty out of their ass. They just took out of their ass, and now they are just rubbing other people's face and say like, oh, I know this that you don't know. They are just pathetic. So a spiritual men, they get a B tier, which is bargain hunter. And they are bargain hunters because they are usually I believe they have low IQ. I think that's why they don't make a lot of money. So that's why they don't spend, because they don't make any money. So that's why they are B tier, which is bargain hunter. And then we have the long hair kind of man. The long hair kind of men are usually so proud of his hair, and usually all the conversation that you're going to talk to a man who has long hair is always about his hair, how he takes care of his hair. And he's just like, he's not super masculine. He is more like a hippie kind of style most of the time. Not always, but usually a man like that who cares so much about his hair and who has long hair is usually not rough. He's very like laid back and slow. And he even talks slow. He even talk like he's sleepy or something. um Men like that don't make a lot of money, but it's not like that bad. There are worse. Then I put long hair man at E tier, which means effective. Now let's talk about the next man, which is the men who wear braids. Men who wear braids are usually not good spenders. I don't know what it is. It's just so typical of men wearing braids that makes them not spend. And I know there are celebrities who spend a lot of money who wear braids, but in real life, men with braids are just bad. They don't spend anything. I don't know what it is. I'm serious. I don't understand much about them. I just know that whenever they give me any money, it needs to be in front of everyone so everyone will see it. So I put those braids, man, in the C category, which is cost conscious. And now we have the next man, which is the heavy metal man. This heavy metal man, he wants the ones who drive motorcycles, those Harley Davidson kind of motorcycles. And I know those motorcycles are very expensive, but those men don't spend any money. They have those disgusting beards. Those beards are just gross. I feel sometimes that if I ever hug a man like that, which I would never do that, I will probably find like toenails between their beards and find like rice beans in between. They are just gross. They are just gross, and they usually have tattoos and all kinds of like skulls and as necklaces. And they are usually not caring about women. They are fully like about themselves, adventurous. They are not the kind of people who care about what women think of them. Some of them are not even care about women at all. They are only care about themselves and having fun and enjoying life while they have any life to live. They are like those kind of men who live life to the fullest. And men like that who doesn't think about the future, who just just too too slow and too weak to get anything substantial in life. They are usually cheap. I don't usually have any luck getting money from men that dresses like that and that drive those motorcycles. They are group thinkers. They believe that they are so cool. They think they are the most interesting people in the planet. That they think that everybody's looking at them, everybody admiring them, and they are just difficult people. Some of the times, a lot of them, especially in the beginning when I came to the United States, I didn't know how cheap they were. So I used to talk to them a lot, and they used to always invite me to go on their motorcycle with them. I never accepted, not even on my worst days. I've never even considered that. And I feel like a man who would have the audacity to invite a woman on a motorcycle ride is very abusive because a woman could just fall on the asphalt, burn her face down. Like you're putting a woman in a danger position because you are a narcissist, because you want to show her off, because it's because of you. It's not because of a woman. Like they're super, like they only about themselves. They want you to sit on their back of their motorcycle. They never tell you, hey, can you ride the motorcycle and can I be on the back of the motorcycle? No, it's always like, can I take you on the back of my motorcycle? They just want to show you off and they just want to be that guy, who has those like, who provides her the experience of like being on a movie or something. They are just pathetic and narcissistic. They only think about themselves. Those men don't spend any money on women. And I think there is also another type of man who also drive motorcycle, who drives sport kind of motorcycle, and those men never ask me to go on a motorcycle with them. Those men who drive motorcycles, not this one, I'm talking about the other kind of motorcycle who are also very expensive, but they look more like a racing kind of motorcycle. Those men are less cheap. They are not cheap like this man who drives the Harley Davidson motorcycles, who are punk gothic kind of men. I'm talking about the older people who drives motorcycle, which is usually young men. I'm talking about gym men that wears gym clothing, and sometimes they go to the gym on that kind of motorcycle. But like I said, I'm talking about the sport expensive motorcycle. Those men tend not to be cheap. They are different from those heavy metal men. They are younger and they're usually hot, and they don't ever ask me to go with them on a motorcycle. So, and that's why the heavy metal men who are highly narcissistic receives a B tier, which is a bargain hunter. Now, the next man is the man who wear blouse wrapped around his waist. Guys, I cannot tell you how ridiculous this man is. This man is pathetic. He's ridiculous. He makes me want to vomit when I see a man like that. They never spend any money. Every time when a man have like put this when a man have the courage to put a sweater or a blouse around his waist, he's basically saying, hey, I am a child. You don't ask me for anything. I'm just having fun here. I mean, as well, the lack of awareness of how they look when they put this this blouse around his waist is so pathetic, because I can definitely see that those men have no self-awareness, no sense of beauty, because they I don't know if they know, but a lot of men who put like anything wrapped around their waist is gonna make their waist look bigger, and they are going to look like belly dancers. Like they are completely unconscious to their image. Like they look pathetic, and then they look like they have shorter legs. The only reason why this guy on this picture look like he has longer legs is because he's a model. But regular guys, whenever they put a blouse or a jacket or a hoodie wrapped around his waist, first he looks shorter. Second, he looks like he has big hips, which is highly unattractive. So those men also are saying, "Hey, I'm a child. Don't ask me anything. I'm the baby here." So yeah, those blouse wrapped around the waist is S tier, which is super cheap, the highest level of cheapness a man can ever reach. And now let's talk about the long beard man. The long beard man is like the Dumbledores, from Harry Potter. The world is full of Dumbledores. I like Dumbledore as a character. It is one of my favorite characters in the Harry Potter series. I love Dumbledore, but Dumbledore, the kind of man with long beards, are very stingy. They don't spend any money. They tend to be promiscuous, but they're just promiscuous in a bad way. Like they don't spend any money, and they just tend to be creepy and promiscuous at the same time, and they're really disgusting with this beard, long beard. And I just feel like those men who have those long beards have zero interest for what women want or for what women want alike. And that's why they wear the beards, because it is possibly an expression of how uninterested they are in pleasing women, in having anything to do with women, besides of them being creepy and besides of them being promiscuous. They don't have that drive towards women. He's not going to make a big investment. Yeah, he's going to be super weird, and he's going to be promiscuous, and he's going to have a high sex drive like every normal like old man always do. But this one is not going to make an investment. This one is not going to make any financial move towards a woman. He is basically someone who have checked out. However, he believes that if something happens, like if a woman gives up herself for free, he would take it. But he's not going to invest anything. He's just basically going to wait for the low hanging fruits to fall on his hand. If comes the opportunity, he's not going to invest any money or anything into any woman. So those men lack completely interest in society as well, and they are just too old to want anything, to desire anything. They are just usually people who lost interest in life, especially in women. So those men are E tier, which is avaricious. So they get E tier, A tier, which is avaricious. And next we have the last man, guys. This is the underdressed man. Guys, underdressed men who wear clothing that makes them look like they have no money, make them look like they are just poor and broke, are abusers, because a lot of men that dresses like that, they do have a lot of money, and they purposefully dress this way just so they can abuse other people. Let me explain to you what I mean by that. I dated, because I don't know if you guys know, but I got paid to date when I was younger. So I dated so many of those men, or underdressed, and they were just so pathetic that you enter stores like Tiffany's, they would enter stores like Louis Vuitton, and they would purposely dress this way just so if someone ever mistreat them for looking like that, they would go ahead and buy something just to prove a point, and they would just basically make a big purchase to prove them wrong. They're just abusers. They were just abusers, showing off like, you see, you have to learn the lesson. You have to stop looking at people on the outside, and we have to stop looking at people in the inside. You are misjudging me. You are like, they are just basically want to make people wrong. And that's one of the reasons why I don't like, and I notice those men are cheap, is because they are in the beginning, before anything happens, they are actively trying to prove other people wrong and to make people feel bad about themselves and to teach people a lesson. Those men who underdress like that, they are usually nothing but abusers. And they want the salesperson that mistreat them and to feel sorry all for the whole day for treating them like that. They want to buy from the other salesperson that didn't mistreat them, just so the salesperson that did mistreat them feel sad and feel bad and learn a lesson about seeing people from what they are inside, which is a stupid lesson ever that nobody should ever learn. Because yes, we should judge people by the way they look, period. And guys, this guy is like, this is a A tier, which is avaricious. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you like this kind of video, tell me and I will continue making it. Click like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you. Bye.